The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was given a standing ovation at the United Nations General Assembly as he officially lodged a bid for statehood. But despite the show of support, the move triggered fierce opposition from the United States and Israel. The US has vowed to use its Security Council veto to block the Palestinians, and Israel's leader told the UN that peace can only come with direct negotiations. Middle East correspondent Ben Knight reports.
Some of the most powerful leaders in the world tried to talk Mahmoud Abbas out of making this speech, but as he walked to the podium, many in the Assembly gave him a standing ovation, especially when he waved the letter asking that Palestinians be admitted as the UN's newest member nation. Not everyone at the UN was applauding, but in the West Bank, Palestinians were cheering wildly, more united behind their leader than at any time since the death of Yasser Arafat. This was a blistering speech. Mahmoud Abbas called Palestinians the world's last occupied people. It accused Israel of ethnic cleansing through its policy of building Jewish homes on the land Palestinians want for their state.
Settlement activities embody the core of a policy of colonial military occupation of the land of the Palestinian people, and all of the brutality of aggression and racial discrimination against our people that this policy entails. This policy is the primary cause for the failure of the peace process.
Less than an hour later, Israel's Prime Minister stepped up to respond.
The core of the conflict is not the settlements. The settlements are a result of the conflict. The settlements have to be, it's an issue that has to be addressed and resolved in the course of negotiations. But the core of the conflict has always been, and unfortunately remains, the refusal of the Palestinians to recognize a Jewish state in any border.
Mahmoud Abbas says this is not about delegitimizing Israel, but about giving legitimacy to the Palestinian people. He promised a nation based on equality, democracy and the rule of law. But he won't get it here. The US has already vowed to use its veto in the Security Council to block the application. But the Palestinians feel that already this has been a diplomatic and public relations success, putting their cause at the top of the world agenda and prompting world powers to come up with new ideas to get peace talks started.
Middle East correspondent Ben Knight joins me now from the Kalandia checkpoint between Ramallah and Jerusalem. Ben, is this really a win for the Palestinians?
Well, Deborah, the win so far is that the place is calm. I mean, this is one of the main hotspots when trouble does occur, and today, just like any other day. But it certainly is a gamble for the Palestinians. I mean, not only have they deeply antagonised Israel with this move, they have embarrassed the United States. The US put enormous diplomatic pressure on the Palestinians not to go to the UN in the way that they did, and they were unable to stop them. But the US president has really been pushed into an embarrassing corner when the Palestinians basically said, show your hand if we come to the United Nations, and America has said, no, we are not going to give you a state in this forum. But of course the US president has all this year been making speeches supporting and encouraging Arabs in other nations around here as they've pushed for democracy and freedom. So when it came to the crunch on Palestine in the United Nations, he said no, and that really has not gone down well at all in the Middle East.
Well, Ben, we've heard that the international community, the Peace Quartet, are trying to set up a new plan for talks. Is that likely to happen over coming months?
Well, I wouldn't think so. I mean, as I've said, I mean, the Israelis are deeply antagonised, and those two issues which were talked about at the United Nations, there's been no movement on them. I mean, the Israelis still say that until the Palestinians accept us as a Jewish state, we don't have an agreement. But on the Palestinian side, as they say, as long as Israel continues to build Jewish houses on the other side of that wall, to build new Jewish communities on the land that Palestinians want as their future nation, they say there is nothing to talk about, and we heard no movement on that at all at the United Nations. So I would say very unlikely.
Ben Knight, thanks for that analysis from Kalandia.